Dates get confusing around the holidays, my sister smirked after scheming me on Christmas Day. Good luck with your bill, I laughed. 3 months later, my brother texted. I'm 32, I never thought I'd be the villain in my family's story, but here I am sipping tea in my empty house while my phone lights up with their desperate messages. I've turned the volume off. The buzzing against the wooden table is enough. They want money, they always want money. I wasn't always the family ATM. There was a time when I was just Lauren, the oldest daughter who tried too hard, the one who got good grades and stayed out of trouble, the responsible one. Little did I know that being responsible would become my prison sentence. Mom's favoritism started early. I remember being 10 years old, standing in the kitchen with a report card full of A's. I'd worked so hard that semester, staying up late to finish projects, skipping Saturday cartoons to study. I held out my report card, heart fluttering with anticipation. Mom glanced at it, nodded, and said, "That's nice, honey," before turning back to Ryan. He'd gotten a C in math, up from a D, and she was smothering him with praise. "I'm so proud of you, this deserves ice cream." I stood there, my achievement evaporating like morning dew. No ice cream for straight A's, no excited phone call to Dad, just "that's nice," and back to fawning over my brother's mediocrity. It was always like that. Amanda's participation trophy got displayed on the mantel while my first place science fair ribbon was tucked away in a drawer. Ryan's minor improvements warranted celebration while my consistent excellence was expected, unremarkable. Sometimes I wonder if they ever loved me for me, not for what I could give them. It started small, helping Ryan with his car payment when he was between jobs, covering Amanda's textbooks when her financial aid fell through. Small acts of kindness that any big sister would do, but kindness has a way of becoming an expectation. I remember the day I realized I was being used. It was 3 years ago at Thanksgiving. My mother was setting the table, placing mismatched plates around the dining room as if they were fine china. I'd offered to help, but she shooed me away. "Go relax," she said. "You work so hard." I worked hard, 60-hour weeks at the marketing firm. I'd finally made junior partner, but the promotion came with expectations. More hours, more stress, more results. But I was proud of myself, proud of climbing out of our small-town poverty, proud of being the first Johnson to graduate college, proud of my 2-bedroom house with the blue shutters and the garden out back. I settled on the couch, listening to Ryan and Amanda argue over the remote. At 29 and 27, they still lived at home, still fought like teenagers, still expected Mom to referee their disputes. "Lauren," Ryan called, not looking away from the TV, "can I borrow $100 just until payday?" Just until payday, his favorite phrase, a temporary loan that somehow always became permanent. I opened my mouth to say no, to remind him about the $200 from last month he hadn't repaid, but Mom caught my eye from the doorway. Her look said everything. "Don't rock the boat, it's easier to just give in." So I did. I pulled out my wallet and handed him the cash. He took it without looking at me, without saying thank you, as if it was his right to my hard-earned money. That was the moment, standing there watching him pocket my cash without gratitude, feeling my mother's approving nod. I was the outsider, the resource, the reliable one who would always provide but never truly belong. After that, I started noticing patterns, how they only called when they needed something, how conversations turned to money within minutes, how my achievements were met with cool disinterest, but my financial stability was a topic of great family concern. My promotion to junior partner was a perfect example of Mom's warped priorities. When I called with the news, breathless with excitement, she listened for exactly 30 seconds before interrupting. "That's wonderful, Lauren. Listen, Amanda needs new tires for her car, about $400. I told her you'd help out." No congratulations, no proud phone calls to relatives, just another request for money and a quick pivot to Amanda's needs. The contrast was undeniable, painful. Still, I kept giving. kept hoping that generosity would buy what I really wanted, their genuine love and respect. It never did. The Christmas incident was the final straw. I'd been looking forward to the family reunion for weeks. Mom had talked about it since Thanksgiving. The whole extended family would be there, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, people who knew me before I became the family bank, people who might actually be happy to see me. I bought a new dress, deep green velvet that made my eyes pop. I had my hair done. I even splurged on a holiday manicure, little gold stars on deep red polish. I picked out thoughtful gifts for everyone, not expensive but personal, things that showed I'd been paying attention. The invitation said 3 p.m. on Christmas Day at my parents' house. I'd triple-checked with Ryan just 2 days before. "Yeah, Christmas Day, Mom's going all out," he confirmed, not looking up from his phone. I arrived at 2:45, arms loaded with gifts and a homemade sweet potato casserole. My mother opened the door in her bathrobe, hair wrapped in a towel. The house was quiet. No Christmas music, no chatter of relatives, no delicious smells from the kitchen. "Lauren," Mom frowned, "what are you doing here?" My stomach dropped. "The family reunion, it's today, right?" Her face shifted, a flash of guilt quickly masked by confusion. "Oh, honey, that was yesterday, Christmas Eve." I stood there holding my casserole like an idiot as understanding dawned. This wasn't a mix-up, this was deliberate. Come in," Mom ushered me inside, avoiding my eyes. "I can make you some coffee." The living room told the story, Christmas aftermath, wrapping paper in the recycling bin, new gifts displayed on the mantel, and photos. So many photos on Mom's phone that she was too quick to put away, everyone smiling, everyone together. "Everyone except me? Honest mistake," Ryan smirked when he emerged from his room. "Dates get confusing around the holidays." Amanda at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "We tried calling you," she lied. We both knew they hadn't. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I sat on their couch in my beautiful green dress, balancing a mug of lukewarm coffee, and I smiled. "These things happen," I said, but inside something hardened. A resolve crystallized with perfect clarity. They had crossed a line and there was no going back. I stayed for an hour, made small talk, asked about the reunion I'd missed, nodded at their vague, evasive answers. Then I gathered my untouched gifts, left the casserole, and drove home. On the way, I called my bank. By the time I reached my driveway, all the automatic payments I'd set up for my family were canceled. Ryan's car insurance, Amanda's rent subsidy, the extra mortgage payment on my parents' house. All gone with a few taps on my phone screen. I didn't tell them right away. I waited, watched, let them dig themselves deeper. Ryan maxed out his credit cards buying Christmas presents, secure in the knowledge that his big sister would bail him out in January. Amanda signed a lease on a more expensive apartment. Mom booked a weekend trip with her church friends. All of them spent money they didn't have because they assumed I would cover the deficit, like always. 3 weeks after Christmas, they were getting nervous. I could tell from their texts, casual inquiries about when I'd be sending money, hints about upcoming bills, finally, outright requests. I invited them for Sunday dinner, made my mother's favorite pot roast, baked Amanda's preferred chocolate cake, bought the expensive beer Ryan liked. We ate, we chatted about nothing important, and just as Mom was serving coffee, I dropped my bomb. "By the way, I canceled all the automatic payments I had set up for you all." The silence was deafening. Ryan recovered first. "Very funny, Lore, I'm not joking." I took a sip of coffee. "I figured it's time you all managed your own finances." Amanda's face flushed red. "You can't do that, my rent is due next week." "Yes, rent payments usually are monthly, funny how that works." "Lauren," my mother's voice took on that placating tone she used when she wanted something. "I know you're upset about the Christmas mix-up, but this is extreme." "Is it?" I set my cup down carefully. "I think it's extreme to deliberately exclude your daughter from a family gathering. I think it's extreme to take advantage of someone's generosity for years without gratitude or reciprocation. I think it's extreme to treat family like an ATM. Ryan's face darkened. I just bought a new TV and PlayStation 5. I was counting on you covering my credit card bill. Guess that's awkward for you then. We're family, Mom tried again, her voice trembling. Family helps each other. Yes, I agreed. Family does help each other. Family includes everyone in celebrations. Family says thank you when someone is generous. Family doesn't take advantage. I stood up, smoothing my napkin on the table. I'll always be your daughter and your sister, but I'm not your bank anymore. The aftermath was exactly what I expected. First came disbelief, then anger, then desperate attempts to change my mind. Ryan called 17 times that night. His voicemails evolved from confused to furious to pleading. Amanda took a different approach, cold, clipped texts about how I was tearing the family apart. Mom cried on the phone about how she might lose the house. I blocked their numbers after 3 days, changed my email, went dark on social media. It's been 2 months now. My aunt tells me that Ryan had to sell his gaming setup to cover his credit card debt. Amanda moved to a cheaper apartment. Mom took on part-time work at the supermarket. They're surviving, adjusting, learning to live within their means for the first time in years. Sometimes I feel guilty. In my weaker moments, I wonder if I went too far. But then I remember sitting in that living room in my green velvet dress, realizing they had deliberately excluded me from a family celebration after all I'd done for them. The hardest truth I've had to face is that they never really loved me, not the way I loved them. They loved what I could give them. They loved the security of knowing Lauren would always bail them out. They loved the comfort of my sacrifice, but they didn't love me. I've started therapy, joined a book club, made friends who value my company, not my wallet. I'm learning that generosity should come from love, not obligation, that healthy relationships have boundaries, that being a good daughter and sister doesn't mean emptying my bank account. Last week I got a letter from Amanda. No demands, no guilt trips, just a simple acknowledgement that they had taken me for granted, that they were sorry, that they missed me, not my money. It's a start. I don't know if we'll ever repair what's broken between us. Trust, once shattered, is difficult to rebuild. But I do know this: whatever relationship we salvage will be healthier than what we had before, more honest, more equal. And if we can't build something new from the ashes of what we burned down, then I'll be okay on my own. I've discovered that I'm stronger than I thought, more resilient, more worthy of respect than I've given myself credit for. The price of family shouldn't be your self-worth. It took me 32 years to learn that lesson. Better late than never. My phone buzzes again. Another message. I check the screen cautiously. It's Ryan. I got a job, a real one. Would you meet me for coffee? No money talk, promise. I set the phone down without answering. I'll think about it. Take my time deciding. There's no rush. For once, the choice is entirely mine. After 3 months of silence, I agreed to meet Ryan at a coffee shop halfway between our homes, neutral territory. I arrived early, taking a corner table where I could watch the door. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wrapped them around my mug, letting the warmth steady me. When Ryan walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd cut his hair, traded his usual graphic tees for a button-down shirt. He looked grown up, responsible. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. We sat in awkward silence while he ordered his coffee. Black, no sugar, another change. He used to drown his coffee in cream and sweetener. "You look good," he offered. "Thanks, so do you." More silence, the weight of unsaid words pressed between us. I waited. This was his meeting, his move. "I've been working at Wilson's Manufacturing," he said eventually. "On the floor, but they have a management training program." I applied. "That's great, Ryan." "Yeah," he fidgeted with his napkin. "It's different, having a real job, paying my own bills." I nodded but said nothing. "I was angry at first," he continued. "When you cut us off, I said some things, left some pretty nasty voicemails." "You did. I'm sorry. His eyes met mine for the first time, not just for the voicemails, for everything, for taking advantage, for the Christmas thing. I felt a crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. The Christmas thing, you mean deliberately excluding me from a family gathering? He winced. Yeah, it was cruel, it was Amanda's idea, but I went along with it. We were jealous of you. Jealous of what? Your life, your success, you escaped, Lauren, you got out of the trap, we didn't. I shook my head, disbelieving. I tried to help you get out too. I offered to help with your community college tuition. I tried to connect you with job opportunities. I know, but it was easier to resent you than to admit I was failing, easier to take your money than to try and fail again. His honesty surprised me. This wasn't the Ryan I knew. My brother had always deflected, blamed others, avoided responsibility. This man across from me seemed different, humbled. What changed? I asked. Everything, he gave a short, humorless laugh. When you cut us off, it was like waking up. Mom and Amanda were blaming you, but I started seeing how messed up we'd been, how we treated you. He took a deep breath. I had to sell my stuff, move to a cheaper apartment, actually look for a real job. It sucked, but it was also freeing. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for you to solve my problems. I had to solve them myself. I felt tears prick my eyes and blinked them away. I never wanted to hurt you all, I just couldn't keep enabling behaviors that were destroying you and me. I get that now. Ryan reached across the table, hesitated, then pulled back. I don't expect you to forgive us right away, or ever maybe. I just wanted you to know that I understand what we did wrong, and I'm trying to be better. We talked for another hour about his job, my promotion, Mom's adjustment to working again, Amanda's struggles to accept the new reality. When we parted, it wasn't with hugs or promises, just a tentative truce, an acknowledgement that healing might be possible eventually. I'm proud of you, I told him as we stood on the sidewalk outside. His eyes widened, then filled with tears. Thank you. I watched him walk away, shoulders straighter than I remembered, more sure of himself, growing up finally. On the drive home, I felt lighter, as if I'd set down a burden I'd been carrying for years, not just the financial drain of supporting my family, but the emotional weight of trying to buy their love. I didn't unblock their numbers that day or the next, but I did start thinking about what rebuilding might look like, what boundaries I would need, what behaviors I couldn't tolerate. A month later, I met Amanda. Her apology was less eloquent than Ryan's, more stilted, but I sensed real regret beneath her pride. Mom took longer. 6 months passed before she requested a meeting, and even then, she struggled to admit wrongdoing. I just wanted what was best for all my children, she said, twisting her napkin in her lap. No, Mom, you wanted what was easiest. There's a difference. She flinched but didn't argue. That, more than anything, told me she was trying. I've learned that sometimes true generosity means withholding, that sometimes love requires letting people face the consequences of their actions, that sometimes the hardest path is the one that leads to healing. The price of family shouldn't be your self-worth, but the reward of family, real, honest, loving family, is worth every painful step of the journey. My phone buzzes with a text from Ryan. Lunch tomorrow, my treat this time. I smile and type back, yes, looking forward to it. Small steps, new beginnings, hope. That's the thing about family. When it's real, when it's based on mutual respect and genuine care rather than obligation or advantage, it's worth fighting for. Worth rebuilding, worth the long, difficult road to healing. Sometimes I find myself staring at old family photos, wondering how we got so lost along the way. In those faded images, my smile is genuine. Ryan's laughter isn't tinged with resentment. Amanda's eyes meet the camera without calculation. Mom's embrace feels protective, not confining. When did money become the language we spoke instead of love? When did my success become something to exploit rather than celebrate? I realize now that I played my part in our dysfunction. My generosity wasn't entirely selfless. In some twisted way, I believed I could buy their approval, their love, their respect. I needed to be needed, even if it was only for my checkbook. Ryan found his independence, Amanda her resilience, Mom her capability. None of these discoveries would have happened if I'd continued enabling their dependency. And I found something too, the courage to define my worth beyond what I could give, the strength to establish boundaries, the wisdom to distinguish between generosity and martyrdom. If I could go back and speak to my younger self, that girl standing in her mother's living room, handing over cash without acknowledgement, I'd tell her one thing: your value isn't measured by what you provide. You deserve love simply for who you are. It took a painful rupture to learn this lesson, a year of separation and slow, careful rebuilding. But the family we're creating now is stronger than what we had before, built on respect rather than obligation, on appreciation rather than expectation, on love rather than transaction. The wounds haven't fully healed, I doubt they ever will completely, but in their place something new is growing, something authentic, something worth protecting, and in the end, isn't that what family should be?